if Texas plays like they did last night against Texas Tech, that's as well as they've played since they beat Alabama. So that Texas team can beat anybody.
Greetings and salutations, and welcome to the Odd Coaches Podcast, post-Thanksgiving, of course. I am your host, Dr. Keith Adams, and on this Throwdown Thursday edition, with us is our favorite administrator, Robert Abney. Robert, I hope your Thanksgiving was well, and we've got a lot going on. How are you?
You know, if everybody else's Thanksgiving was a tenth as blessed as ours, they had a really good Thanksgiving. It was great, man.
Man, that's awesome. And coming on in after a spectacular week debut,
Here you go.
George Ockett has joined us. George, how are you, sir?
I'm all right. How you doing?
Oh, doing wonderful. So on this Throwdown Thursday in segment 1, we're going to go around the territories. In segment 2, coaching is hard. We're going to talk a lot about coaching changes. We've got some athletic directors who are going to try to guide you. And in segment 3, we're going to talk about things strictly for entertainment purposes only. And we've got championship week coming up. But first, gentlemen, the ACC. As predicted last week, Louisville lost to a 3-5 SEC team. And Florida State looks like a different team without their quarterback. So Robert, is going to be Louisville versus FSU in the championship game. Any thoughts on ACC football?
Yeah, Florida State did not look good without Jordan Travis. I'm okay with that, though, because Louisville beating Florida State in that championship game, that's all part of the master plan. We're going to talk about that in a minute. Plan.
George, does Louisville have a shot to win the ACC and totally screw it up for the committee?
There's a shot for everything to take place. I'd rather not see it happen. I'd like to see Florida State get rewarded for going undefeated and get an opportunity. But, you know, they're going to look at the situation with them with not having their starting quarterback. So it's a sad reality, but it is what it is. So,
yeah. All right. And speaking of reality, in the American, SMU lost their quarterback in their win against Navy, but they made it to the title game against Tulane. So, Robert, we've got Tulane, who hasn't played well, but as of this moment, they're the highest ranked Group of 5 team, going against SMU, who was hot as all get out, but they lost their quarterback after they had already beat Navy pretty badly. Any thoughts in terms of SMU with you being in Texas? Can they beat Tulane without their quarterback?
I'm going to go with no, and that's one of and you know, you talked earlier, coaching's hard, and at some point you got to say, okay, we gotta save a few bullets for next week. So, you know, there are people out there asking, why was that quarterback still in the game? The game was over. What's he still doing in the game? It's coaching's hard, man.
All right, George, I want you to take on the Big 12 for me, and I'm going to get Robert in there because of the Texas piece. The Big 12 is a middling conference. That's bad stuff. That's a lot of bad football for the Big 12 yesterday. You've got Oklahoma State falling backwards into the title game against Texas. What are you thinking about Oklahoma State versus Texas? Can they actually beat Texas?
With that current Texas team, anything's possible. It's you don't know, they are a Jekyll and Hyde, so you don't know what's going to happen, and every game comes down to the last play, and almost last play or last drive. So I still see Texas winning, but can Oklahoma State win? Yeah, I mean they played a real good game earlier in the year. So anything could happen. I see Texas probably taking this one out. I mean, taking that Big 12 title game. But you know, anything's possible.
All right, Robert, you are in the state of Texas. What is the scuttlebutt going on with the Austin Courier Gazette, Post Gazette, whatever it is? What's going on in Texas?
American Statesman. There you go. I'll tell you what, George, if Texas plays like they did last night against Texas Tech, that's as well as they've played since they beat Alabama. So that Texas team can beat anybody. The one that showed up the week before and snuck one out over, was it TCU? I don't remember.
I think it was
That
TCU.
Texas team, anybody can beat them. So
Yeah.
I think Texas will win the title game. I think they'll win it comfortably. I think they're just that much better than Oklahoma State. But again, you never know.
Okay. So we're going to move to the Big Ten, and I'm going to pause a little bit because that was a big game. Okay. Ryan Day, I don't know who you can beat, but I know who you can't lose to. Okay. I don't know if he's going to make it through, even though I think the Ohio State fan base is a little crazy. And we'll talk about it in segment 2. George, if you're Ohio State, are you mad at Ryan Day, or did you just get beat by the better team?
No, this is the same. We're going in again. What is this? 4 years in a row he hasn't won that game. I think he's on the 4th year he hasn't won that game. And Ohio State and Michigan both plot their seasons on the game. So no, Ryan Day hasn't won in 4 years. And you saw how bad when Harbaugh went 0-4 in that game. They were after him. Effigies were hanging on campus, so we need to get rid of them. You're talking about 2 schools that have not base everything off that one game. I think it saved Ryan Day a little bit last year because they lost the game, but they still got into the college playoff, and they were a play or 2 away from upsetting Georgia. But it won't happen this year. So it's gonna look the outlook is gonna be tough for Ryan Day. And I've already heard that he was amongst one of the suitors that Texas A&M was going after. So the Texas A&M money is a whole different set of money than anybody else. So it's something to be on the lookout for. I also heard they were after Oregon State's coach too. So there's a long list there.
So Robert, we have the Big Ten championship. Michigan's going against Iowa. Does Iowa even have a shot at winning this game, or is it all over but the shout?
Realistically, no, they don't. Am I rooting for them and the chaos that will bring? Absolutely. Let's see it. Hey, let's get Iowa in their copyrighted, registered, trademark 13-10 game where they, I don't know if you saw yesterday, but I mean, the last 10 drives of that game were all punts and interceptions until somehow they got in position to kick a field goal with no time left.
It is absolutely ridiculous.
The number yesterday, it was like, it was 24 and a half. Like in game, it got down to 24 and a half. 13-12, you'd have lost.
I know that. Okay. All right. I'll move to Iowa in segment 3. All right. HBCUs. We got the SWAC title game. Prairie View A&M against Florida A&M for the right to play the Bison of Howard in the Celebration Bowl, December 16th. Won't be making it to Atlanta, but good luck to all involved. Conference USA. We're going to go to the group of 5. Robert, New Mexico State is going to play undefeated Liberty. They're just a drive down the road from me. George, how far is Liberty from us?
Liberty is about 2.5, 3 hours from us.
Oh, now we're not going. But Robert, can New Mexico State upset Liberty and mess up their big chance for the highest ranked group of 5?
Well, they played already, and I think Liberty smoked them pretty good.
It did.
New Mexico State, I said a few weeks ago that this is the only New Mexico State team I think that's ever won 8 games, and that's true. It's the only New Mexico State team to ever win 8, 9, or 10 games. in 1960, New Mexico State won the old Border Conference. Thank you, Wikipedia. They went 11-0 and won the Sun Bowl in 1960. You know who was in the Border Conference?
Not at all, Robert.
I did not until I looked. It was Arizona, Arizona State, UTEP, which was then Texas Western, West Texas A&M, and Hardin Simmons. Hardin Simmons plays Division III football now.
Oh man! Only on the OCP will you get this level of depth in New Mexico State football lore.
The world is a different place. Hey, that said, you know, the quarterback, I've said his name before, Diego Pavia. He went to New Mexico Military Institute, my alma mater, so I got a soft spot in my heart for this kid. New Mexico did not recruit him, probably because he's 5'9", and he went to New Mexico State, and in the past 2 years, they've won one bowl game, and they're going to another. So the kid knows how to win. And do they have a puncher's chance? Absolutely.
All right, George, I'm gonna let you take the MAC. You got Toledo versus Miami of Ohio in the MAC title game. Toledo is on fire. They've won a bunch of games in a row. What are you thinking about the MAC title game?
MAC was interesting this year because a lot of your regular players did not show up this year. You know, you teams that the Northern Illinois and stuff didn't show up, and they didn't have their one big upset of a Power Five like they usually have. So yeah, Toledo's on fire. I see Toledo taking that game and go ahead and going through. So yeah, that one should be a done deal right there.
All right, again, strictly for entertainment purposes only. We'll talk about that in segment 3. Fellas, the Mountain West Conference doesn't have a title game as of this taping yet because we tape in the morning. They'll have it in the afternoon. They literally will have to go to the computers to decide because UNLV got upset by San Jose State. So they're literally doing a computer model. They installed this tiebreaker for this season after the disbanded divisions. Robert, you're an administrator. What have I told you? That you're deciding who's going to the championship game by a computer. Wait, we used to do that years ago. What are you thinking about the Mountain West?
There are no words. It's like, just find a way to play it out. Come on.
Oh man, George, did you hear about this before the show? That they're using the computer to decide who's going to play the championship game?
I hadn't because I was waiting on to see who from the results. I happened to fall asleep last night, so I didn't hear any results or anything. So I didn't know what they were going to do.
Yeah, it's UNLV and Boise State and San Jose. That's who they're playing out this computer model with.
Right.
Yes, they all have identical records, and their respective point differentials for the season are also nearly identical. The Broncos post a point differential of plus 99, while San Jose State has plus 92, and UNLV has a plus 97. And since they all didn't go head-to-head, they have to use the computers. So, good luck.
Look, and here's the issue, and here's the real big issue, because in the past, you're talking about a conference where we, again, usually see some major upsets where they would come in and beat a Power 5 conference. Boise State's usually the leader in the house right there. But like we talked about before, you have these continuous changes of coaches at Boise State. The recruiting isn't the same because Boise State was always good for going out to L.A. and picking up a couple of the kids that got missed by USC or whatever, and would have them there, and they would destroy somebody. They'd be one of those giants that you hadn't heard that nobody paid attention to because they're playing on a rock in the middle of Boise, and then they'd wind up beating one of these Power 5 conferences, and everybody be like, "Oh, Boise State's good," and they were good for that for 10 plus years. But the coaches have recycled. Oregon took one of their coaches. I think the other one left and went to Pac-12, and now we're at a situation where actually. University of Washington's coach had coached Boise previously, and now we're in a situation now where they got a whole new regime out there. So the formula has broken down, and Boise's back to mediocre, and the whole conference has always been mediocre. So we're where we're at right now because of that.
All right. Speaking of conferences, but these guys are not mediocre. George, you're a master of this. The Sun Belt title game, App State versus Troy. JMU looks like they'll be able to get into a bowl. Congratulations to them. Who you got, App State or Troy?
Oh, it's gonna be a tough one. I think I'll probably see Troy taking this one, even though I love those boys from Boone.
Yes, you do. Hide the women and children, Jeff.
Yeah, you ain't lying. Yeah, Boone is tough out. You gotta it gets cold and strange things happen. I deliberately watched that App State Coastal Carolina game yesterday. JMU and Coastal Carolina. JMU is the cream of the crop. They are a really good team from a really good program. Their program's been good for the past 10 or 15 years, where they were dominant at the FCS level. They even won a national championship probably I think about 4 or 5 years ago. So they came in and just hurting people, and they destroyed Coastal, which is one of the mainstays in that conference. So they deserve a bowl. They probably deserve to win the Sun Belt, but yeah, Troy will probably take that one out there a little bit. They'll get App. I think they'll get App this next weekend coming up.
All right. So Notre Dame for the Independents. Go ahead.
Real quick, I can verify James Madison and Jacksonville State both are in bowl games.
Good, man. They deserve it. They absolutely deserve it.
That conference is tough. That conference is tough.
All right. So Notre Dame out of the Independents will make a bowl, and Army is still one Navy win away from doing it. We'll talk about Army's coach in a little bit. Pac-12, we've got Washington against Oregon. I kind of see that Oregon has played almost the best. Actually, Arizona's been playing the best ball of the Pac-12 the last few weeks. So luckily, there's not 1 week left. So we got Washington, we got Oregon, and in segment 3, we're going to let Robert go off about chaos in that conference. But let's go to the real football. Alabama, Georgia in the SEC championship. George, does Alabama have a shot? Because Georgia's good, and I don't care about what they did against Georgia Tech yesterday. They were absolutely bored.
Definitely. Alabama definitely does. I'm going to go ahead. Robert almost had his chaos scenario yesterday. If Auburn's corner could have stayed with his man, but we're going to leave that alone. A hell of a play, though, hell of a pass. Yeah, I got to give Alabama credit. But Alabama's tough. They're a real tough team. You can't go by the Auburn game. Auburn's good, but that Iron Bowl, you always play your big brother tough, as it always is. There's always a chance you could beat your big brother. So, and that's the way Alabama and Auburn are. But there is a real chance in Atlanta that Alabama could walk away with that SEC title, which would cause chaos. Don't be shocked if it happens.
Robert, you've got the last word with the SEC championship, the only real game outside of Iowa and Michigan, strictly for entertainment purposes only. What are you thinking about Georgia, Alabama?
Well, if it comes down to Alabama having 4th and goal from the 31 again, I'm going to go with no. They ain't going to win it. Can Alabama beat them? Absolutely. Whether they will, let's see. We're going to talk more about that in segment 3, right?
Yes, indeed. All right. But fans, when we get back in segment 2, coaching is hard and fan bases are ridiculous. We're going to talk about that when we get right back on the iCoaches podcast.
The CKA SAVE Project is an industry leader in advocating for student-athlete, academic, and athletic needs. Through academic and athletic enrichment, the CKA SAVE Project is on the forefront of the issues facing 21st century student athletes. As student athletes continue to struggle to find a better balance between academic and athletic success, the CKA SAVE Project offers academic and athletic services to support student-athlete academic success, including academic skills assessment, academic and athletic consulting, academic monitoring, academic and athletic workshops. For more information or to schedule a free consultation, contact Dr. Keith Adams by email at cka@ckasaveproject.org.
Welcome back to the Odd Coaches Podcast. And in segment 2, we're going to talk a little bit about this college football coaching carousel. So we do have an open position, Robert, in New Mexico. The New Mexico Lobos have fired Danny Gonzalez after 4 years, and he went 11-32 at his alma mater. Robert, what is needed to win at New Mexico? Because local recruiting is no recruiting, so everybody good has to be kind of imported. What are your thoughts on the New Mexico job?
Well, when I see, first of all, he's a New Mexico guy. They got better every year. They won 2, 3, and 4 games. So he's gotten better every year. I'm not sure what they're thinking they're going to get. I mean, I don't understand it. He's a Lobo guy. Recruiting to Albuquerque's hard because you can't sell kids on, there's lots of stuff to do outdoors. Kids don't care about that. There isn't a whole lot of NIL money there. I don't know what they're thinking. I really don't know. They want to go a different direction. Great. I mean, they have probably 6, maybe 7 New Mexico kids who actually see the field, who actually play. There is one kid in New Mexico right now who you could actually call a big time recruit. He's a linebacker, and he ain't going to New Mexico. He's got offers all over the place. He's a 3-star kid, probably the best player the state's had in a while. I mean, it's a tough job, and I don't know what they're hoping to find. I have no idea. Do they need to do better? Yeah, because you can't build an athletic program when your football team isn't winning and only 9,000 people are showing up to watch football games. That ain't going to work. No. So I don't know what they're going to do.
All right. We also have openings at Oregon State. That's going to be a tough one. San Diego State's a gold mine. Syracuse is another tough gig. Mississippi State, Stark Vegas, and it's about to get ugly there. And George, you talked a little bit about Boise State. Andy Avalos went 22-14 and got fired. What are they thinking about? George, what does Boise State want if they don't want a guy who went 22-14 during his tenure?
They're looking for their Urban Meyer or what, because and I say that because Boise State is used to being in the national spotlight. Okay, so they've gone through a number of coaches, and it's interesting because every time they have coach has a good 2-year run at Boise State, you can pretty much guarantee and stamp it that he's going to one of the Power 5 programs. It's happened to them repeatedly. It's like rinse and repeat. So Boise State thinks that I think they're a little delusional in fact that they have a place that players would love to come to. They should be able to recruit like the big boys recruit because they've been playing in a kind of like false situation on that level for a number of years. But it doesn't work that way. It was always a situation where they were pulling players from that were either those diamonds in the rough that didn't get a whole lot of big offers, or they got into had a little problem or something at one of the Power 5s. They were bringing them in, and they created a good team. Just like, it really Boise reminds me of San Diego State with college basketball. Fisher would go grab a couple of kids that had problems at Michigan or NC State or something, like you just had the two twins out there that are now in the league, and they'd wind up you get in the NCAA tournament. You're like, whoa, how did I not hear about this team? Well, this is why. And this is what Boise would do. So now they're expecting that to be the norm out there. But how do you recruit Boise? Really, how do you recruit that whole area? Robert was talking about New Mexico. It's tough to recruit out there. You got to have something to get these kids, or a way to get these kids that are in LA or in the West Coast or in Arizona. You're going to have to pull them out. And the kids back here, I can remember when Loxley was at New Mexico. Ooh. And when Loxley was at New Mexico, he recruited the East Coast huge, and there was a whole bunch of East Coast kids that went out there. I'm laughing, Robert. I'm laughing.
I know, man. I'm trying to get you away from it. He took one of my players out there, and I can remember being on the phone with him. But it's a tough place to go out and win, and you got to do a lot of convincing to get a kid to go from one of the coast of one of the big shot urban areas to go out there, man. And it's the same thing in Boise. I mean, if they get a coach that's got some swag, he can go into the transfer portal and start pulling some kids in, hopefully. But it's gonna be tough, man. It's a tough place to be, man. Tough place to recruit. All right, hey, Robert.
You want to talk about a bad fit, George? Coach Locks at New Mexico. That was bad.
Don't remind me.
We'll just say that.
Don't remind me.
Robert. We've got some situations at Texas A&M. What are we doing? First of all, the fact that you called Mark Stoops, you got rid of Jimbo, paid Jimbo over 90, and ta-da, it was Mark Stoops. Yeah, the revolution will not be televised. So now we know it's not Mark Stoops. What are y'all doing at Texas A&M?
Yep.
That's all it is, man. I don't know what they're hoping to do. I have no idea. I just know it. I've said it before and I'll say it again. I mean, they have more money than God, and they want to be better than they've ever been because they've never been that good. And I don't know what they're hoping to find. Mark Stoops would have been a good hire, but obviously not splashy enough, considering. So I don't know what they're going to do. No idea. But it's going to be, I will tell you this, it's going to be crazy.
Well, fans, to close this segment, Dr. Adams would like to send an open note to the fan bases of both Ohio State and Penn State. Slow down, okay? It's hard to win. Yes, you haven't beat the big dogs, but the college football playoffs will expand to 12 next season, and every year you'll have a chance to get in there because the West Coast team's coming in. You're going to beat them. I've seen enough of UCLA to know that they got nothing coming. Okay. Washington's got nothing coming. Oregon's got you give Oregon the same schedule as some of these other schools play. Yeah. So can you slow down? It was bad loss. Yeah, I'm sorry, but yeah, slow down, man. You got a pretty good situation. So anyway, in segment 3, we're going to talk about things strictly for entertainment purposes only, and maybe make a prediction or two on championship weekend. We'll be right back on the Odd Coaches podcast.
The reviews are in for Dr. Keith Adams' book, Finding the Balance, My Personal Journey to Academic and Athletic Success. College professor and student athlete academic expert Dr. Lisa Rubin said, "There is nothing out there like this book, so I do hope people will pay attention and give it a read." Former George Mason standout Folarin Campbell said, "Consider this book an opportunity to work directly with Dr. Adams, just like I did. I assure you that there will be something you can take away that will be useful to you throughout your personal journey." Ryan Waite, a recent college graduate who is a software engineer, said, "I like how the book is based on research, which makes it good for general students as well as student athletes." The book serves as both a memoir to Dr. Adams' 30-year academic and athletic career, as well as an instructional guide to assist student athletes, parents, coaches, teachers, and administrators navigate through the challenges of finding a better balance between academic and athletic success. The book includes over 15 personal stories and anecdotes from Dr. Adams, along with numerous former players and colleagues from a variety of sports and endeavors. You can order your copy at www.ckasaveproject.org. From the main page, simply click CKA Save Project Services and order the Find the Balance book. For more information, contact Dr. Keith Adams by email at cka@ckasaveproject.org.
Welcome back to the Odd Coaches Podcast in segment 3. All right, we got championship week, fellas. We've got the OCP top 5 that I have poured over all morning. I got Georgia 1. I got Michigan 2. I got Washington 3, not because they're the third best team, but they're undefeated, and Florida State's got the quarterback issue. I got Florida State 4, and I got Liberty projected as to be the best group of 5 team after all of this is said and done. On the outside looking in, I got Texas from the Big 12. I got Oregon from the Pac-12 because I think Oregon's going to beat Washington. Alabama has to be in there until they lose. And damn it, Iowa has to be in there too until they lose. Robert, you've got first shot at this. Go ahead and give me your chaos predictions.
Here's what I want to see. Alabama beats Georgia. Iowa beats Michigan. Louisville beats Florida State. Oregon beats Washington. Texas wins out. Tulane wins out. Liberty wins out. So then you have, with one loss, Georgia, Michigan, Ohio State, Florida State, Washington, Oregon, Texas, Alabama, Tulane. The only undefeated is Liberty. That's what I want to see.
And the giant clicking sounds you hear are remote controls across the country. George, what are you thinking about, man? How would this shake out if George was running this?
I'm laughing because with Robert's scenario, we'd wind up having like at least 2 SEC teams in the Final Four. I got it. And number one, can we go back? Tulane is probably the best non-Power 5 team out there. You put Tulane and Liberty on the field, Tulane's gonna mop that up. But
You think so? I've seen Tulane play the last 5 weeks.
Tulane would. Let me tell you, Tulane would get Liberty. I'm just letting you know that.
Right.
I'm telling you this. Look, Tulane. You want to talk about history? Tulane used to be in the SEC. We're recruiting a certain kind of kid here. Liberty, this little Bible school, where we're hosting Donald Trump and George Bush during election time. You're only gonna get but so many folks down there. Okay, so let's get that. I'd love to see. I want to see. I'd like to see Alabama beat Georgia. That would really take it. And I'd like to see Oregon beat Washington, which I think is going to happen anyway. My big concern right now is Florida State getting squeezed out just because of the quarterback situation. See, they'll do something crazy that they always do, and they'll be like, "Oh, the quarterback's missing. Washington lost a close game, or Alabama or Georgia lost a close game. So let's throw that one-loss team in there against that undefeated team without its quarterback." They've done crazy stuff like that before. So that's what scares me right now with them. But I think it's fair to let Florida State in at 4 if they beat Louisville. That's what I'm looking at.
All right. So fans, the season is over. I did 8 season-long bets. I was 4-4. I lost with Clemson. I had Tulane over 9. They took me home. I had Maryland over 7. They won 7. Thanks. I had Texas over 9.5. They took care of business. I had Troy over 8. They did it. Notre Dame over 8.5. They took care of it. Georgia, I had Utah and Tennessee. They let me down. So, that's what happens. Last week, in terms of bets, I was 3-2. This week, I was 2-3. It was a weird week because I was traveling, and not every state is as liberal with their online gambling. So I did some side stuff, but I can't count that. So for the stuff that I counted with the regular $10 bets, I had as my spread game South Carolina plus 7.5. couldn't get back in, and Spencer Rattler, man, what a boring way to end with all of that noise. Over under. Robert, I did have Iowa, but that was the side bet at the bar. I had Florida State under 49.5. They took care of business because they didn't score as much. My 2 play was Florida plus 6.5, South Carolina plus 7.5. Didn't work for me. My 3 play, notice they were all the late games. I had Notre Dame, West Virginia, and Georgia. They took me to the pay window. I did have enough time to bet Ohio State to win outright, and that didn't happen because I'm a wrestling guy. That was the best booked finish. Set them up, and then pull the rug out, but it didn't happen. All right. So now moving forward, championship weekend, Friday, December 1st, New Mexico State, Liberty. Liberty's going to beat New Mexico State, but Robert, you're going to make me watch it. Oregon, Washington. Oregon's going to beat Washington. Fellas, I'll let you comment on that one. George, Oregon or Washington, who do you have?
I got Oregon.
Okay. Robert,
yeah.
What about you?
Oregon.
Yeah. All right. And then Saturday, Oklahoma State, Texas. Texas is going to win. Oklahoma State, it's got nothing coming. I'm done with the guy, but whatever. Fellas, Robert, Texas, Oklahoma State, your call.
Texas.
George.
Texas.
All right. Miami, Toledo. I'm with you, George. Toledo's going to win. SMU, Tulane. Tulane's going to win because SMU's quarterback's out. App State, Troy. I'll go with Troy. All season bet. Louisville, Florida State. We'll stop here. I actually have Louisville winning. George, Louisville or Florida State?
I got Florida State winning.
All right. Robert, who you got?
With the quarterback issues they have, I'm going with Louisville.
Yeah. And then for the real games we'll watch, strictly for entertainment purposes only, Michigan against Iowa. Can Iowa make it close, George? Can Iowa make it interesting?
I was going to make it ugly. That's what they are going to do. They're going to make it ugly, but they can't make it close. Okay. They don't have enough offense to even make this thing close. No.
Robert, can they make it interesting?
As much as I would love to see it, I'm going to go with no. I'm taking Michigan.
All right. And then the main event, Georgia against Alabama. No, it's Georgia. It's not even close. It's 2-touchdown game. George, who you got, Georgia or Alabama? 2-touchdown game, and you know
it. I'll say Georgia's going to win. I want Alabama to win. That's a first for me because I like I'm LSU dude, so I like. Oh God, I'm gonna say Georgia's gonna win. It's gonna be close though. It's gonna be close.
Robert, what you got?
Strictly for entertainment purposes, what was the opening line?
That I do not know, sir.
Oh, okay. I think Georgia's going to win, but it wouldn't surprise me if Alabama makes that a close game.
All right. Since Robert asked, I think they might have it out. The opening line, Bama plus 4.5. There you go. Only on the OCP, even though it'll already be out.
That's the plus 4.5. I can see that.
Yeah, the way they've been playing, and I can see that. I can see that.
Take Georgia in the points. Okay. We'll be taking Georgia in the points, but again, all season, who's listening to me because I'm rolling at a 36% clip, and that's not what you want to roll with.
No, that ain't gonna do it.
That's not what you want to roll with. So, what do I know? All right, fans, on behalf of our Cavalcade of Stars, I'm Dr. Keith Adams saying thank you for listening and or watching the iCoaches podcast, and we'll see you on the sidelines. Till next time, take care.
The iCoaches podcast is sponsored by the CKA Save Project. The CKA Save Project is an industry leader in providing student-athlete academic and athletic support. From assessing student-athletes' academic and athletic skills, to measuring and monitoring student-athlete academic progress, to improving student-athlete time management and organizational skills, the CKA Save Project provides wraparound services for student-athletes from middle school through college. For more information, visit us on the web at www.ckasaveproject.org or schedule a free consultation with Dr. Keith Adams by emailing cka@ckasaveproject.org. We hope you enjoyed today's show. The Odd Coaches podcast drops new episodes every Tuesday through Friday on most weeks. Make sure you subscribe to the Odd Coaches podcast on Apple Music, iHeartRadio, Podbean, Spotify, and YouTube. Follow the Odd Coaches podcast on Twitter and Instagram at Odd Coaches. Follow Dr. Adams on Twitter and Instagram at CKA Save Project. In addition, follow Coach Mike Francis on Twitter and Instagram at Coach Franchise, spelled Coach Franchize. For more information about the CKA Save Project, please visit them on the web at www.ckasaveproject.org. See you next time on the Odd Coaches podcast.